So my name is Arjan Brassi. I'm a technical director at Epic Games. My goal is to help people be successful at implementing Unreal Engine, and for that, right, we want to share more about all the things that we have in flight, so that hopefully, you can see what's coming. You don't build your own. If we have something in flight, right, stuff like that, and just share more of the roadmap. So that's his talk. So we're going to go over the entire engine. It's a bit much, so I'm trying to kind of get through it. We don't have that much time. There's going to be a lot of specialist sessions for all these areas where people can go to much more detail on like the 5.5 features and what's coming beyond. And I've pointed out those sessions in the slides, so you can see those other sessions if you want to go to those. Big caveat, as always, it's software development, things will change. I think over the past week, there's so many features that made it not, etc., into the 5.5. So it's always the thing that's happening. We just want to share what we're working on. So, instead of just like saying nothing and then you can only see it like 6 months from now or whatever. So let's start with rendering. I thought it was always good to kind of start with the aims, right? Like, what are we trying to do with rendering? Well, it's probably the most obvious feature of the engine that we're pushing, right? High-end graphics quality, not just for games, for all these other uses of a visualization engine. But importantly, right, for us, that also means we want to hit the highest fidelity as possible at 60 Hertz on current gen consoles, right? So that's a true line that we use for all our development to just keep working on performance. High-end photorealism as well for all these other use cases, virtual production, you name it. It's also part of the efforts. So with all the features, right? Starting with Nanite. So the big focus of the year is to do R&D into foliage rendering. So the problem with foliage is that if you have a huge amount of trees going up to the horizon, the Nanite algorithm doesn't work that well because it just becomes a problem of aggregation of all these leaves, etc. So we're looking at all kinds of approaches to render that kind of geometry detail at speed in the far distance, etc. But the other aspect of it as well is that in close to you, next to the camera, there will be a lot of moving elements, right? If you have to see the trees are moving, etc. So for that, we are exploring Nanite skeletal meshes, which is actually hitting experimental already in 5.5. And that's really exciting because we're running all that on the GPU. So we can offload all that stuff from the CPU, and it's much faster to render and even instance animations and such things. The other problem with trees is that if you have tried it, you import like a 50 million triangle tree into Nanite. It takes a long time and it's super huge. So we're looking at a system that we call like a Nanite assemblies to composite trees out of different elements that are then instanced and hierarchically instanced to create a full tree at much lower memory usage and much more efficient uses like that. And then, last but not least, we also have highly requested Nanite mesh painting in the editor at 5.5. So that allows you to paint virtual textures directly inside the editor instead of doing like per vertex colors, which is not friendly for Nanite. So that's now part of the editor as well. Really excited. Artists are all super happy with that. So yeah, going forward, future, we plan to kind of keep doubling down on the foliage thing. We expect really big updates at around 5.6 time, which is next year, middle next year. And that will both solve all these issues of like dynamic moving trees, the composition of the trees, the aggregation, but also making this all work with Lumen and VSM. So yeah, Lumen and VSM, that area. Excited to show that we now have this Megalights initiative that we showed the demo of. That featured like I think like 1700 ray traced shadowed lights in that scene. Running on a current gen console. It's early, right? It's experimental. We're going to work on performance and get that to 60 and all that in the future. But yeah, really next leap in the graphic fidelity in that way. Then in general, we were doing a lot of work on Lumen performance, so to run that at high quality scalability settings at 60 Hertz on current gen consoles, and also enable hardware ray tracing at 60 Hertz on current gen consoles with 5.5. So that's also really exciting. Down the line, right, what's coming next? Obviously a lot of work going into megalights and further optimizing that, but also looking at like Lumen, like how can we scale it down even further by hitting maybe 2 millisecond type processing time, so we can enable 120 Hertz modes, but also run it better on low-end hardware, mobile, and such things. So that's also in deep R&D for future releases, like not packed to a certain release yet. Path Tracer is now production ready, so that's really feature complete as well for enterprise and linear content type work. And we have some experimental aspects that we just came in with the new denoiser and volumetric cloud support and such things. Then also exciting that Substrate is now hitting beta in 5.5. Substrate obviously is this, complex materials with like lots of layering, without overhead for if you don't want to do simple things. So you can go super complex, but also do simple things. And, in good Epic practice, what we want to do to make that into production ready is to ship our internal projects on it. So that's not happened yet, so that's why it's still beta. So over the next time, I don't know if it's going to be the next version or not, we need to kind of get Fortnite on Substrate and release that at 60 Hertz, running with all the bells and whistles and performance before we can call that production ready. And then the last bullet point is first-person rendering. So it's kind of interesting because I always think about Unreal as like the Unreal Tournament engine still, and we're like, yeah, first-person rendering out of the box didn't work that well. So we actually put some time and effort into that. So we now have that ready in like experimental state. So you can do like you have an anti-clippings approach. You have a separate FOV for your first-person mesh. And then we have a bunch of work that we're still doing for the future with, in the near future, like doing shadowing of your gun, self-shadowing, shadowing of your third-person mesh, and supporting reflections and those kind of things. But that's cool because you don't have to do these nasty hacks and nasty workarounds anymore to render first-person meshes efficiently. Right? Then on the rendering architecture. So, main focus is to really get to ever better performance by improving renderer parallelization in general, to utilize all the cores and using the new work graphs on PCs. So feature-wise, the other thing that we're doing is we're working on a refactor of the GPU profiler, where the goal is to unify these profiling systems that we have, like stats, profile GPU, insights, and such things, and to support also the modern concepts with async compute and mGPU in kind of a single profiler. So that will help a lot seeing what your GPU is all doing. Then we have support for bindless resources. Also highly requested from many content developers, right? Enable much newer artist workflows and such things. So that's coming. And last but not least, here are many things. Certainly not last. We're working on a lot of shader compilation improvements by. Looking at the compiling time, so they can do their PSO caching, and generally we're working and decreasing the shader permutations a lot to kind of get performance back into your workflows of just working on the games. Okay, then Next, we have ongoing work on like render parallelization, right? So coming with enhanced barriers as well, like CPU and GPU optimizations with DirectX. Further reducing shader permutations by doing efforts on reducing static switch conversion things. And then, another big effort underway for the next time period is a new material editor, where the goal is to make a much easier system for people to make performant materials simply out of the box without having to do a lot of custom work to kind of get them to work at performance in the first place. So, make great materials for non-experts is the goal here. Right. There's rendering. Let's go over to world creation. So obviously, right, world creation, the aims are to kind of, have Unreal be friendly to making these big open world games, and have streaming, efficient streaming out of the box, and have all these workflows out of the box with UE5. So we've been on a journey since 5.0, probably since our first tech demos, and we're seeing big improvements every release. As part of that, we also have the PCG system that we now are going to move toward production ready by next year. And that's obviously a way to kind of add a lot more content via rules and systems like that, instead of just hand placing anything. So that's also allows you to stay in the editor, obviously, and get much faster workflows like that. So big thing now is that we're also going to run that on GPU going forward. Ambitious goal here, right? Like our North Star that we have here is that we want to go to much, much bigger worlds. And then, if you have an order of multiple orders of magnitude more complexity just with the size of the world or the number of actors, a lot of the Unreal systems don't work that nice anymore, right? It starts to fall apart. So we need to do a lot of work in making such things faster. So yeah, 5.5, we have a feature that we call external data layers, where actors within a world partition can now be associated with like a game feature plugin and can be loaded as such, which makes it much more efficient to load that section without having to load everything, also in memory. Level instance property overrides, a bit of a mouthful, but that's our kind of, our basic early prefab type system. So you can have instances that you have override properties to, and, so you can instantiate things and do a bit of overrides. It's not our full-fledged prefab system. That's more what you see in UEFN right now with the new scene graph. But this is at least a way to build big worlds with like instance things. And then also, after many requests, we now have static lighting for world partition using CPU Lightmesh. So that's in 5.5. So future. I think, a lot of work ongoing to keep improving workflows, customization, quality, performance, all the things, right? The main thing on performance really is towards streaming performance. So yeah, if you have tens of thousands of objects in a cell and you're streaming it in, we hitch, right? It's too much single-threaded stuff. So there's a lot of work on like, okay, how do we make that faster? Like the adds to world, make that faster, but also streaming out of memory, make that faster, right? And you hit in like garbage collect and whatnot. So there's a lot of work to kind of fix that multiple orders of magnitude problem down the line. Then right now, to set up your world efficiently, you have to build a lot of tools to kind of pack actors together into grouped aggregates and hierarchical instance static mesh things and whatnot. So we want to make tools to make that more automatic out of the box, to kind of grab all the objects together, put them in the right cell and all that. So then on the new scene graph, so that we are doing right now in UEFN, because that's kind of a nice isolated thing that doesn't break everything with the actor and component model of UE right now. But down the line, right, we want to make this a UE feature, and kind of the main road ahead for that is like, how do we merge these concepts together, right? Like, how can we kind of move fully to maybe to like an entity system with that new scene graph while not breaking all the previous content that was built in like an actor component model? So that's the big challenge ahead for us. Unsolved yet. So yeah, PCG. Very excited to announce that we have GPU compute on PCG. So, obviously you can do micro scattering. It can generate and instantiate nanite meshes. So a lot more detail possible, fully running on the GPU. We also have a new PCG Graph Executor version 2 that scales better under multi-threading applications and allows you to do async compute on some of these things, so you don't hitch or you don't stall on the thread, etc. So you can have things that take longer without hitching and all that. And that helps for both runtime and inside the editor. So that's cool. And there's a talk. So that's the first call out of a talk here. I think tomorrow, and they'll go into much more detail on the various aspects that they're working on. So yeah, future. So in the next year, we want to make PCG production ready. Again, for us, that normally means we shipped it in Fortnite, right? We use it at scale ourselves, right? We had hundreds of people working on it, and we make sure that works super solid. So that's coming next. GPU compute is getting enhancements, and generally we're looking at all the workflows of like, well, how can we do better attribute support, dependency tracking, versioning, all those kind of things. The other thing we're working on is a thing that we call like mega worlds, biomes. So what we're seeing is that obviously you don't want to place individual assets anymore, but more and more you also don't want artists to all have to work on PCG graphs themselves, because PCG graphs become super complex, and so that's not for everybody. So can we create a concept of assets that have built-in PCG on every level and can just be placed with these built-in rules, and can we ship content in our marketplaces, in Fab and in Quixel, whatever, that has built-in PCG rules and all that. So that's an initiative that we're going to announce later next year, but that's kind of the workflow we're seeing ahead of us to just make large-scale world creation much easier with that content. Then on terrain, so I've heard people internally sometimes sigh that our landscape is like the worst geometry that we have on screen, because it's just height field and low fidelity and all that. So yeah, we need to get it to nanite level of detail. And while we're at it, we should probably just make it completely 3D and get like pixel-sized polygons and all that. But that's a huge effort, because even looking at these things, it's very complex. So there's a lot of R&D going on. We're working on like workflow prototypes and such. Memory, everything is under consideration there. But yeah, in the meantime, we're stuck with landscape. But at least landscape has gotten a couple of improvements. So we have various things. So you can do patches. You can do displacement of your landscape. We have better scalability support for like different platforms that you want to target, but also worked on a bunch of quality of life improvements, because we have heard many complaints that people are trying to import landscapes into Nanite, and that made their PCs blow up. So we had to do a lot of work to kind of make that a bit more friendly, and not take like a 500 gazillion gigabyte of memory and whatever. So those are the type of things we also have fixed in the meantime on our legacy landscape systems. So yeah, then last thing in world creation is the day sequence. So this is finally publicly releasing, really exciting. So we're using the sequencer to basically change anything based on a time of day setting. So it allows you to kind of basically change anything that you can access with Sequencer. We've been using it in Fortnite for probably 1.5 years now. But yeah, this is now a plugin that we're releasing with 5.5. So really exciting as well. And there's another talk on that. So yeah, animation. A lot of work going into animation tooling, right? Obviously, our goal is to push this full animation authoring pipeline inside the editor, bypassing the absolute need, you can still do it, but bypassing the need to use DCCs. Also we're, I think, innovating a lot in like the animation workflows and the tooling, so we can accelerate our tooling much faster. Now we have control over the entire pipeline internally. A lot of benefits here as well for round tripping times, right? You don't have to go back and forth to other tools, but also like animating in context, right? For if you're working on a cutscene or a movie type thing or whatever, you can animate in Final Pixel. So, you don't animate stuff that's in shadow or behind an effect or whatever. So, you see a lot of improvements there instead of just like the bouncing between external DCCs. It's an open framework which you can extend, build your own tools with. Hopefully we'll see marketplace plugins and such coming. And, generally, right, we like to see animation being used by more people. So, we want to make it not just for experts. And maybe right now the tools are a bit rough. For experts only. So we're working on like making it more friendly going forward. So yeah, one of our big features, one of our big kind of innovations probably for animation is our control rig efforts. So we have a lot of things going on in flight. What just was added to 5.5 is modular animation deformers that you can add on characters in the sequencer really easy. So that's super cool. A modular rigging framework is getting a lot of quality of life improvements to kind of make that easier to use and refined that user interface. We have skeletal mesh editing production ready in the editor, so that's cool, right? It's another kind of thing that you don't have to do in an external tool. And I think especially if you just have a simple thing, right? You have a simple thing, you want to put an animation on, etc. You can just do that in the editor instead of having, for even simple thing, go to an external tool. And then ML Deformer, right, has been used internally by us for quite some time. We've even shipped ML Deformer running on like PlayStation 4 with Fortnite 2 years ago or something. So it's super fast. Right, it's like much faster than actually generating that or running that logic, without the ML part. So we're going to release a sample there, and we're working on like debugging and such tools to make that easier. Then in the future, a lot of work going on to deformer graphs still, right? Allowing like physics rigs and more quality of life stuff. And then we also have a big effort on like retargeting to make centralizing shared skeleton data and profile altering more easy in that realm. So yeah, on Sequencer, I think Sequencer was due to get some quality of life improvements. So we see that as a kind of main cinematic editing tool that we want to have a more clean and friendly user interface for all users. And we also see that as like the timeline tool for anything that needs a timeline in the editor. So not just linked to purely animation. So in that realm, we also have a thing that's called dynamic sequencer that can react on your gameplay state or your place of actors and whatever. And we want to expand that to support those dynamic elements of the game to enhance interactive cinematic experiences there. So that's in 5.5. Then down the line, what we want to do with Sequencer is allow you to mix animations together. So take multiple animations, additively apply them, mask them, put them together, build a new animation directly within Sequencer. And also with the work on like the dynamic sequencer and all that work, our plan is to go into like a full branching cinematic dialogue system and support that out of the box. So that will take some time, but we're looking at like requirements right now. We're talking to a bunch of licensees to get feedback because people have built these things themselves, maybe in other engines. So this is kind of the work that we want to keep doing on expanding sequencer functionality. Then animation authoring, a lot of work going on in supporting animation layers, getting to like a focused animation editor mode. I think we started that in like the 5.0 version. It's like, well, can we make a bit nicer UI and hide the things that we don't need? And I think animation is now one of these things. Yeah, we just want to go into animation mode in the editor, kind of hide a lot of things. A lot of quality of life there as well. And we have a physics control component coming, plugin coming that allows you to add like simple physically based controls to an animation blueprint and such. So future, more tools, right? We're using this internally heavily. We get a lot of feedback from all these other different industries as well. So that's happening. We want to get to a more simplified timeline. So both we're making it more complex with dynamic sequencer, but also want to make it simpler for like simple timelines. And then, down the line as well, what we're working on, like animating with physics. So, if you have a physics sim running alongside animating, you get a lot of benefits of like free overlap, free secondary actions, posing with collision and physics and such things. So that's in the pipe. So yeah, motion matching, probably one of the most requested, but also popular things in the previous release. So we since released the sample, which is great. Lots of animation, lots of things for you to go into. But also exciting, we're actually updating the sample. So the moment we have new features coming into the animation suite, we update the sample so we can show you all that stuff running in with actual data next to it. In the future, we want to add a lot of new things. So can we have like multiple actor support, like interoperating, interacting together? Can we improve the tooling around like trajectories and such things? So yeah, then general animation systems. The gameplay animations camera system is a way for you to allow camera state behaviors and transitions seamlessly. So it's much nicer to interpolate between different cameras without nasty hacks. Choosers to allow you to allow the game context to drive the animation selection. So you can do like custom things per like character type or per damage state of the character or such things. A lot of work in all this stuff with improving the debugging tool set. So, this is hard, right? You don't know why it's playing an animation anymore. So having better debugging, rewind, scrubbing controls that you can connect to your console, even in remote, etc., is really useful. And being able to save the state of your animation system and kind of replay that in an external tool is also on the path. Also exciting that we now have Mutable plugin going into beta with 5.5. Mutable generates dynamic skeletal meshes, materials, textures, allows you to make like really complex looking characters. And, we'll also get an official content sample. So again, this is very useful for anybody that does customizable characters in any way. In the future, right, we're really working on like enhancing all these things. So yeah. Then, the next thing really for animation is, very non-creatively called AnimNext. And that's our kind of long-term initiative to kind of integrate all the animation logic systems into a single thing and make the anim graph logic much faster using our rig VM, right? We had a control rig VM that was super fast. versus the old kind of animation blueprints thing that was really slow. So now we're kind of integrating that into a single unified system. So this will become our next generation animation solution that will replace the animation blueprint, and hopefully as well, in our first benchmarks, it starts to kind of show, it hopefully also reduces or eliminates the need to nativize animation blueprints into C++. So you can just ship the things that you're creating in the editor without a lot of manual work. And then, we want to extend that by with root motion support, right? If you don't have like, if you're more single player games and such things, and state tree support, etc. So it's all running on the same backend system, and will be much faster. Right, developer iteration. Well, the aims, we all know, right? The complexity only increases. Some of these worlds are getting multiple orders of magnitude faster. I've been making games for like 30 years. I think I iterated much faster 30 years ago than we do now, right? We were waiting for days on end to see a single change propagate to all devs. It's fucking terrible. So we need to do this better, right? So a lot of effort is on this area to make this better. And if you iterate more and faster, you will reach higher quality as well. Not just because you can iterate, but yeah, you just if you have 10 chances to do something to get to final instead of only 2 chances, you get to better quality. We also have heard loudly that people want to hear our solutions, right? So we want to share more of our solutions with you all, and tools that were internal, pushing them external, right? Better documentation and all that. So especially helping like small and beginning studios with setting this all up. So first section of that we call like build and DevOps. So we have Unreal Build Accelerator now, already kind of a fan favorite, which is becoming production ready for C++, and also now supporting shaders on Windows machines. So that's super exciting. The CI and remote execution aspects of Horde are becoming production ready with 5.5. So that's kind of part of the system, right? It all starts to interoperate very well. And then I think also really exciting is that we now have a thing that we call the UE Studio Telemetry and Horde Analytics. So that's basically a way that all our tools kind of throw analytics that you can hook into your own kind of backend, but you can introspect developer iteration problems across your entire team, right? Things like regression in like KPIs, like cook times or asset sizes or compilation times and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of work there, but you can use that and extend it and put your own backend in that and all that. So really cool. Future, a bunch of work in flight still. UBA still has some improvements coming. We were considering a build cache server that should greatly increase compilation speed again. So that's cool. Horde gets busy idle support, which allows you to run that more efficiently on a build farm. So it can kind of start processes, more processes on the single machine. And we're working on like supporting your work from home and VPN relay type things to enable UBA at home, but also improve network congestion when you're at home and such. Then we have the other areas, editor and target iteration, and we have this whole Zen tool chain there. And a couple things are going to production ready. So the first thing is like Zen Loader, which is really an optimized loading path that will increase performance in all places where you're loading stuff, from like starting the editor, loading a map, starting Pi, but also accelerating the cook processes by using this faster load system. We also have shared DDC for Windows becoming production ready. So the concept there is really that anything that anyone has built on the local network already, that you don't have to build yourself anymore, right? You can share it, you can cache it, and distribute it like that. Then We have the Zen Cooked Output Store, which stores cooked assets in Zen and directly fetches the cooked assets, so you don't have to cook it locally anymore. We have a thing called Zen Snapshots, where you can make a snapshot of a build machine and kind of copy that to another build machine, so continue the process, and it's much faster to kind of do that. Then we have Zen Target Platform Streaming, which is exciting because, you know, the goal is we want to have better on-target iteration times. And for that, we don't want to have you to cook, package, copy the files over to your console, etc. So we use Zen streaming to stream the content directly from the editor from your PC to your console and be much faster like that. And it's kind of similar to local reads from the SSD. So it's great for development on target. Then future stuff. A lot of work ongoing, right? We plan to introduce async loading into the editor, so that will optimize startup, loading, reducing hitching on starting the editor, starting Pi, and all that. We have R&D, well, over the past couple of years already, but we have ongoing R&D into like efficient and stable incremental cooking, and we're aiming to make that default. So that's going to be a huge improvement in cook throughput and performance. And yeah, the last point here is that we're really looking at like what's the kind of minimal data transformations that we can do to convert content instead of just having to kind of naively go through every freaking a piece of content and cook everything and etc. So we need better dependency. We need that incremental cooking type stuff. And yeah, this is kind of a long-term effort, but really high on our agenda. And we're modeling some of this stuff as well on like the learnings we see from UEFN, because, you know, obviously, you know, that's maybe different, but in the end, if you think of that metaverse, you don't want to recook the metaverse if you change the file format or whatever. So, you know, you have to kind of consider much different concepts of like stability of files or you know, such things. So platforms and mobile. So you know, obviously, a big part of Unreal Engine is that it runs on everything that has a GPU. And we want to provide these tools that can run and make it scale to any platform that's out there. So, you know, in this realm, right, we're working, like I said, on like platform iteration, on target platform iteration, on target profiling, testing, such things, make that a lot easier. And, you know, we can't really talk about many of the platforms because of the NDAs. You know, we can talk about mobile, so I'm going to talk about mobile a bunch now. So, you know, bunch of improvements coming into mobile. You know, I'll go over some of them. Right, we end up with a lot of slides, so maybe I'll just go fast. You know, we want to enable the desktop deferred renderer on mobile and for like high-end mobile, and also allow like mobile ray tracing support on that renderer on mobile, which is nice. You know, general mobile improvements in like the normal renderer, maybe not the desktop deferred renderer, or like screen space reflection, you know, and other aspects of forward rendering, like decals and different lights and point light shadows and such things. And we also have experimental Lumen running on mobile as well. So that's nice. You know, down the line, right, we'd like to see if we can run Nanite on mobile, so we kind of unify kind of the content creation pipeline, so the same content can run on all the platforms, and maybe just with scalability, you can tweak the size and the complexity and all that. But that's still like future R&D for us. But you know, considering our big efforts on mobile, you know, we're putting horsepower behind it. So. So tools-wise on mobile, I think the interesting thing is that obviously you have a lot less memory, and all the inefficiencies of Unreal Engine become much more apparent running on a couple of gigabytes available memory mobile platform. So we have extended kind of memory insight support to be better analyzing where the memory is going, right? We've done a lot of memory savings as part of our mobile efforts to get Fortnite back into the store, because we haven't been able to develop on iOS for quite some time. So we had to kind of claw back a lot more memory after like 2 years of frantic Fortnite development. And that's now on the engine, right? So that will help anybody on basically any platform as well. Then down the line, we want to, generally build much better tools to analyze asset costs per platform, and also making some of these per platform properties more easy to find. So that's a big thing as well, right? And then, the last aspect of that is that there are certain core UE systems like Fnames, asset catalogs, localization data, etc., that are just terribly huge. So we need to kind of work on kind of decreasing that size, and that's in flight as well. Then on mobile, obviously, if you want to run a device, that should be possible, but because you have so many devices, it needs to be easier to kind of preview all these various devices directly from the editor. So we have this thing that we call the mobile preview, which is now getting production ready, so you can see like the correct output of the renderer at the right resolution and all that, so you can tune your UI design and see that we have further improvements there. And then down the line, I'll get to that. The other thing is like that on-device iteration, and there we're using some of that console enhancement by just streaming the content to the mobile device instead of, again, having to copy it over with like arcane tools on like Android and such things. So, Then onto simulation. So simulation, what we say is both Chaos and both Niagara kind of combined, right? Really, right? We want to enable dynamic gameplay that reacts to the player, reacts to the changing world. Can be photorealistic, can generate photorealistic humans with like flesh and cloth and secondary motion and all that. And we're starting to use more and more machine learning methods to optimize the content creation, but also the calculation of these simulations. A lot of work has been going into that. On Chaos specifically, a lot of bullet points, maybe go over a few. The ML Flash and full muscular sims are now can now be created fully in engine, so you don't need an external tool for it anymore. So all this stuff that you see here, you can do completely in the engine and set up. And again, right, this will result in sub-millisecond runtime cost per character on like a console. So it's super fast, and you get like crazy detail and fidelity out of that. We also are introducing with 5.5 a modular vehicle system that allows you like building blocks to create and customize vehicles easily. It can support cars, motorcycles, planes, helicopters, and all that. So that's quite cool. Last but not least on that thing is the Chaos visual debugger that can now look at the state of your physics sim, see what's sleeping, what's actually being collided with, and all that. So that got a lot of improvements as well this time. And then Chaos Destruction has gotten a good pass on like performance and memory usage and editor usability and all that. Then a new thing that we have, we call like the data flow editor, and that's kind of an experimental feature in 5.5 that allows you to make like a procedural, non-destructive asset with like a node-based setup. So Chaos, Claude, Flash, Destruction uses new kind of data flow paradigm underneath, and Hair will get that down the line. So it's a much easier way to edit those things. And then generally, right, with Chaos, we keep focusing on performance, right? And many things in performance, but especially stuff like, well, when you're streaming, when you're adding things to the world, make that faster, right? Not make it hitch, make it scale to like hundreds or thousands or more objects efficiently and all that. Then in the future, we have plans to like fully automate and enable the musculoskeletal simulation inside the editor itself. So again, we see a lot of benefits of using ML-trained systems to create these complex things inside the editor completely without having to do all that manual work. And the plan is to be able to apply that to any metahuman, right? So that you can get this fidelity on any imported character. Then going over to Niagara. So we have a bunch of things coming into production already, such as stateless and lightweight emitters that will take far less CPU and GPU and memory, and also kind of are faster to develop with. Also run nicely on mobile, right? If you have constrained performance, these things work better. So we'll keep expanding that thing. We have improved performance using simulation caches, data channels, and generally aiming to get much more off the game thread, but also reduce the render thread in general. So we have more time to do complex things next to running your game. In terms of improved iteration and UX, we now have an async compilation mode, so you don't have to wait for it, and it just runs in the background and recompiles all those Niagara shaders and whatever. And the stateless workflow helps there as well, so that they'll be much faster to use. And then we also are looking at like improving the heterogeneous volume image quality. So we now have like indirect lighting with like self-occlusion on like these complex sims and such. And we also are introducing new scalability controls to tune performance if you're on like a current gen high-end console and want to run these kind of complex things on console. So yeah, we need better control on performance there. So yeah, the future here is a lot of continued work on workflows and reducing the user friction. The system maybe became a bit too expert level. So yeah, there's a bunch of work there, but also supporting more of these kind of stateless particle systems concepts, and that again also help like mobile and such things. Then. Finally, on that slide is as well, like, we find that it's really interesting to have BGG work together with Niagara and vice versa. So you can have like these different sims kind of affect each other and kind of inform each other and can read back and forth. So that's also in flight and interesting. So yeah, framework. So framework is basically all our gameplay systems, right? Which we want to keep expanding, to create these really complex and large worlds, right, in your games. So we have two big aspects. We want to improve the workflows and we want to improve the performance. Workflows, we have things like enhanced input, a mover plugin, modularization of the gameplay ability system, state tree, smart objects, all those kind of things. And then on performance, we are looking at a lot of things like mass, instant actors, navigation on demand, and iris networking and such. So yeah, first thing is that we're going to talk about the state tree. So state tree is getting a bunch of improvements in 5.5, much more robust event support and support for tags and payload structs in state tree. On the runtime part, we are we want to run like task in parallel and binding functions in parallel to automatically convert from like input formats. We have a state tree diff tool that allows you to, like similar to a blueprint, have two state tree opened and quickly look through the changes and compare the changes between revisions. So that's useful there. And then, future improvements in state tree include allowing state trees to be event-driven, have better tick performance, and reducing the overhead of these assets, right? They've grown out of control, maybe. Many more things like that. So yeah, the Mover plugin is coming in 5.5. It's really kind of integrating all these UE5 runtime animation things into a single system. And we keep developing this and making that character mover better. This time it's starting to support motion warping, improve animation root motion support, trajectory queries for motion matching and such. Sorry. Then on MAS. So MAS is our kind of lightweight kind of entity-based kind of game system that we kind of introduced for like the Matrix demo back in the day. And we're seeing more and more use cases for that, where we have a way to convert like lightweight entities to fully loaded actor and components and back and forth to kind of have like a far away detail system or a far away sim and a close by detailed interaction system with characters. So yeah, one of these concepts is what we call like smart objects, which we think of that the one-stop shop for all interactions in the game. So we've done that for NPCs, but we're now using like, we're working on like client-side predicted interaction for players. So you can also use it for multiplayer games, right, down the line. Instant actors is that a way to kind of replace actors by MAS entities and convert them on the fly. We can see a lot more performance that way in like densely populated open world environments. And we also want to do that for moving objects in the future. So and then a bunch of work on like spawning performance here and updating and ticking a huge amount of assets. So that's all in MAS. The other thing on MAS is we want to expose more of the basic UE systems to MAS. So UE or MAS can do navigation, querying, and such directly from that instead of having to use a full actor for those kind of things. Then on networking, so we have Iris that has been flying under the radar for quite some time. Our work has been to kind of run that in Fortnite and see if we can actually make things much faster when we run, instead of the RevGraph, we run Iris on Fortnite. So now we have shipped it on Fortnite BR. And we continue to develop this. So from a, comparing the performance graphs, we're seeing about 20% average frame time improvement right now compared to RevGraph with like much lower hit counts. Then in the future, we plan to make NetDriver work better over multiple cores. So get that tick much down. And then we want to make the overall push model much better by tracking per property and maybe even be able to skipping replication state completely in this networking aspect. And then we have a new tool built into Unreal Header tool where we want to extend the uProperty replication options which would then replace many of the net serialization options. So that will be another kind of big improvement for the speed of Iris. And then lastly, we want to have like replay support in Iris going forward. So yeah, on to like navigation. So we're spending a lot of time on automatic navlink generation to do runtime and dynamic nav mesh generation if your level is changing a lot and such things, or if the level is too big and you can't store all the nav information on your level. And that will allow like procedure worlds to have much more organic and natural NPC navigation and not rely on all these hand-placed aspects anymore. You know, going forward, we want to better support the baked nav mesh if you need that for your game into word partition. Right now, that's kind of clunky. And we want to have further navlink improvements for like long-range navlinks or the dynamic generation of those navlinks as well. So yeah, last section is audio. So big focus for us is now getting back on like core feature development with MetaSounds. We're getting a lot of new audio widgets, which is always fun because audio designers love their widgets. So we have a lot of dials and sliders and cool things coming. You know, we have MetaSound support for scalability at scale, right? For per platform, LLDs on sounds and systems and such. And then a lot of work is ongoing into workflows and UX improvements in general for MetaSounds, and also having better debugging functionality with like analyzing tabs and a lot of polish on the UX, and the standalone mode where you can connect it to your mobile or your console and kind of see what sound is playing and where the performance is going and all that, and with tail recording support as well, so you can just record the last kind of bunch of seconds of your audio and kind of debug that, like why was that playing or sounding like that, etc. Then in the future, the things that we're working on is audio property sheets. Unsurprisingly, probably many of you have been asking for that, which will, you know, basically get it closer to some of the other middleware and you know, have like cascading overridable properties on your sounds and such. And then we are working on a dialogue system as well, combined with like the sequencer efforts on like a dynamic cinematic dialogue system. And we have a thing in flight called Underscore, which is a procedural music plugin that can have you create like turnkey interactive music and such. So I got through it. It's a lot. Dates, what you're all looking for. So 5.5 is out now, yay. Preview 1. Release November, so we're on track on that. So that's exciting. UE 5.6 will be late spring, so June-ish. So that's the dates we're working on right now. We are continually aiming for like 2 releases per year. The end of the year release, like this release, next year is probably a similar time frame as well. So that's basically our rhythm right now, and yeah, that's what we're working on. So roadmap is here. Future part of roadmap has been updated. All the 5.5 features that I talked about are here as well with much more detail. You can leave comments as well. The team will read it. So please take a look, scan the code and all that. I'll leave it up here. And that's it. Thank you.